They even like fucking edited him throwing a fucking grenade through a hole, and it still looked like he fucked it up.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Bright Guy and Super Friends. I'm your host, Brian Labick. Joining me for this episode is someone you might have to temper your expectations for, Andy Stolz.
What's up, podcast people?
Next up, someone who has ironed out all the details of this movie, Josh Zorich.
I mean, if there's any details to care to iron out, possibly.
Next up, someone who is worth his medal in podcast goodness, Mike Bradley.
I'm sorry. Was that nice? That
Should
was
be.
actually nice.
You're on a streak for nice stuff, so
Well, no, we were on a streak for nothing.
that's true too.
I don't know that we were on a streak for nice, but we were on a streak for nothing. But you know what? I'll take it.
And finally, someone who more often than not steals the show, Ian Leidick.
They call me Big Willie because I got a big Willie.
Simple, yep, to the point, sure, yeah. Full disclosure, I'm going to say up front, intro puns courtesy of Andy, who I would expect to be hitting us with puns all throughout this episode.
Good work. Good work.
So, all right, so it's been a while. We're back for another Rewind Theater. I should have looked up to see when we did the last one, but I
It was
didn't.
the end of November.
It's been a while. Has it been? Okay. I knew we've been putting this one off for a while. I've had no desire to get to this movie. But here we are. So it's been a while since we've done Rewind Theater. So even if you're first time viewing, if this is your or first time listening, I guess, your first Rewind Theater episode, you may be asking, what the hell is this? Or, since it's been so long, you probably forgot. So this is basically an excuse for us to get back together, revisit some old comic book movies that we either haven't seen or haven't seen for a while. Our format for these has been to start with some of the comic book history for the movie we're on, since they're all based on comic books or graphic novels. After that, we'll talk about some of the people involved with transitioning that property into a movie. We'll go over budgets, box office gross, ratings, if it's a first-time watch or rewatch for all of us. Before we get into discussion, I'll throw out the spoiler warning, and then we'll go to a 60-second summary, which one of us has volunteered to do ahead of time. We've revamped the topics a bit. We've been using them for, I guess, I don't know, the last couple, I don't remember when we sort of switched it up, but we used to do 5 topics for our Rewind Theater discussion. We narrowed it down to 3, so we're doing direction, story, characters and actors, and then anything else we missed falls under the third category. To try to keep us on track, we're giving a timer to each category. We're going to try to stick to 20 minutes for each of the categories. Once we go through all of that, we'll end the discussion with our movie rating, see if the movie holds up. And then finally, to take the pressure off some of us, we leave it up to the Wheel of Fate.
The Wheel of Fate!
To pick what movie we're watching next. So if you listen to the past episode, you'll know we're trying to stick to 3 franchises and 3 standalone movies on the wheel at a time. At some point, we may change that format depending on how stuff gets picked and what we want to watch, but as of right now, that's what we're doing. So either way, at the end of the episode, we will spin the wheel to see what we're watching next. At the end of our previous episode on TMNT, the wheel selected 1997's Steel, which is where we are. Like I said, we've put this off long enough. It's time to rip off the Band-Aid for this movie. So we're going to kick off with the comic book discussion. Josh is going to give us a little school session for the comic book background.
Okay, class, take your seats. We are talking about John Henry Irons, the character of Steel, created by Louise Simonson and artist John Bogdanovi for DC Comics. Simonson is credited with co-creating, among others, Cable, Apocalypse, and Doomsday.
Decent track record.
And Steel. But yes, that's pretty impressive. The character first appeared in The Adventures of Superman, number 500, in June of 1993 during the Death of Superman event in the second arc that was known as Funeral for a Friend. The character sort of origin story is that he is a weapons engineer for a private company. He fakes his own death to get away from that company when, of course, weapons fall into the wrong hands and are used against innocent people. At this time, he relocates to Metropolis and is saved from a life-threatening situation by none other than Superman himself. Soon after, following Superman's death at the hands of Doomsday, he learns that his weapons are now on the streets of Metropolis, and he fights to stop this. He creates a powered steel suit, a la Iron Man, to mimic Superman's abilities, even including the House of El sigil across the chest and a cape. At the close of that Death of Superman event in the final arc called Reign of Supermen, Steel is one of the 4 beings who attempt to make the public believe Superman is still alive to restore hope. John Henry Irons represents the Man of Steel portion of Superman's identity, each of the other 3 representing another piece of that. At the conclusion of that overall event, comic event in October of 1993, Kal-El returns, spoiler, and shortens the character's name to just Steel, and they become allies. Following this, Steel gets his own spin-off solo series that starts in 1994, ran until 1998. The initial run was done by the co-creator, Louise Simonson, and later taken over by writer Christopher Priest. During that arc, Steel returns to his home area of Washington, D.C., only to find out that his former employer has pursued him, and his weapons are now in the hands of street gangs everywhere, because that's what you wrote about in the 90s. From there, the character continued to appear in other crossovers and other solo books as a supporting character. Soon after his own solo book had launched, there was a crossover with Milestone Comics called Worlds Collide that he was a part of, but following the cancellation of the solo books in 1998, became a regular supporting character, mainly with Superman stories and other Justice League of America titles and storylines. The character passes the torch of Steel onto his niece Natasha eventually, but does put it back on from time to time, most infamously during the Infinite Crisis storyline. Some of the other notable areas where he pops up is the Infinity Incorporated storyline in September 2007, the Reign of Doomsday in January 2011, the New 52 in September 2011, and DC Rebirth in mid-2016. Because for the last 15-ish years, that's what DC does, is every couple of years just relaunch everything. But he has continued to be a part of, even most recently appearing by means of another actor in the current CW TV show, Superman and Lois. Thank you, students. Class dismissed.
Did he get his own New 52?
It was kind of hard.
Did he appear in one of the Superman ones?
It was kind of hard to tell from what I was able to find. I with the New 52 specifically, he was definitely at the least around for some other characters' arcs. I was not able to confirm whether he had his own. I actually did try to find that.
Oh, okay. I wouldn't think that Steel would get it. Their own straight series for the New 52, but
yeah, I
also wasn't aware he appeared at all.
Not
He
yet.
didn't.
Not 100% sure. Oh, he did?
He did not.
He did not. Okay, yes, but he was very present and sort of like a series regular in other titles.
Shout out to Superman and Lois. I watched the first season, and that character pops up, I think, in a really, really awesome way. I haven't started watching season 2, but I think that show is really good for anybody that's curious. I definitely recommend it. All right, so who was involved transitioning this property into movies? So the movie is written and directed by Kenneth Johnson. He's directed a bunch of TV episodes and TV movies. His only other theatrically released movie is Short Circuit 2.
Hmm.
Oh, I love that movie.
The second one?
Short
I don't
Circuit
remember I remember the first one. I don't know if the second one was any good.
Oh,
I don't
man.
remember this. They might just blend together for me. I don't know.
I like number two. Number two.
So yeah, a lot of his IMDb is all TV related stuff. This movie feels like a made-for-TV movie, but it was released theatrically, so we'll see. The film stars Shaquille O'Neal as John Henry Irons, Annabeth Gish, Judd Nelson, Richard Roundtree, Irma P. Hall, Ray J, Charles Napier. I think that's most of the notable cast. Any guesses on the film's budget in 1997 for a superhero movie starring Shaquille O'Neal?
I will again have to abstain because I saw that.
30
Anybody?
million.
Okay, we got
12
30.
million.
How much?
12.
12. Andy?
24.
24. Mike was closest. It was $16 million. Worldwide box office. I don't know if we want to take a guess at this, but it only released domestically. It did not go international.
30 million.
So on a budget of $16 million, you think this movie made $30 million?
30 million.
Okay. Anybody else?
12.
Still sticking with 12, all right?
Yeah.
Josh, Andy?
I'm abstaining again.
24.
I was going to bump up my guess.
Everybody just goes with the same numbers. You're all completely wrong. Domestically, it made $1.7 million. And that is it
Whoa.
on a $16 million budget. So it did not do very good.
Did they try releasing it in all theaters?
I didn't look up to see how many theaters actually got it, but it did not do very well at all.
Like, that's Ghost in the Shell US numbers.
Current, not that they're going to change, Rotten Tomato rating for the critic is 12%, audience is 19%. I couldn't even find the Metascore and stuff on Metacritic for this movie. It's just not listed. Other stuff
thought
that
I saw
Shaquille
a
O'Neal
Metascore.
starred in is in there, but I did not find Steel. Going around the horn, is this a first-time viewing or rewatch for you? Andy?
I feel as if I've seen bits and pieces of this and like, oh, maybe I'll watch this. Watch it for about 10 minutes and then turn it off. So
So this is the first time through?
I think
watch?
first time full sit, yes.
Okay. Ian, first time viewing or rewatch?
It's not my first time seeing that Steel Factory B-roll, but it's my first time watching Steel.
Okay. Well, I'll take it. Oh, yeah. Okay. I get you. Yeah, the opening of the movie. I got you.
That was like a GIF. Like, wasn't it? Like, it was just a loop.
Could have been.
How do you think Steel's made? It's a loop.
Josh, first time watch or rewatch?
Definitely first time.
Mike?
First time.
Yeah, this is a first time watch for me as well. I feel like I might have at some point maybe seen bits and pieces on TV or something and just really not thought anything of it, but yeah, first time through definitely for me.
I feel like I saw one of the Shaq movies, and after watching this movie, I'm like, I had to have seen Kazam then.
It's one or the other,
Yeah,
right? He only has
yeah.
two that you can think of. All right, so it is the time of the show when we're going to try to get into some of the discussion portion. Since we'll be discussing everything in the movie, I'm going to throw out the spoiler alert. If for some reason you've been avoiding spoilers for Steel for this long, pause us now and come back after you've watched the movie. If you would like to listen on anyway, right after the spoiler alert is our 60-second summary, which will hopefully give you enough of a general plot of the movie that you can listen to our discussion. So either way, spoilers to follow.
Spoiler! Spoiler! You know, something like that.
All right, so now that we got the spoiler alert out of the way, we're rolling into our 60-second summary. So again, the goal of this is to give you an idea of the plot of the movie if you care to listen along. We've also added the challenge of having to give the summary in under 60 seconds. So if you miss any details, you can rewind and try to listen to it again. Ian's taken another 60-second summary, so this one's for you. Do you want the countdown, or you just want to roll with it?
Count me in. 3, then go.
Okay. 3, 2, 1, go.
Steel Factory to show us how it went down as the Doves of Peace fly over tanks shot by the world's most advanced rifle. And as all military testing goes, you use live rounds against human targets. Denthead sets the rifle to maximum power and kills a senator. Luckily, he's only discharged. Shaq retires and says hello to the whole hood. Our world-class engineer begins working in a steel factory to make steel for fun stuff. Big Willie, who's the head of Midway, sells weapons. Lieutenant Burke orchestrates a murder to show who's in charge. Some street youths knock over a bank. Shaq gets a steel suit of armor and Bruce Wayne's his way through LA. A Craigslist meetup of the worst scum in the world leads to a throwdown where Shaq throws a grenade free throw, and at the end of the day, that souffle is so fluffy.
Nice. Well done. Under 60 seconds, too. Well done.
That's the movie.
You're not wrong. All right, so we're good for the discussion now. So we have direction, story, characters, actors, and whatever else we want to touch on. 20 minutes on the timer. Any volunteers who wants to go first, and what topic would you like to take?
All right, I'll go first.
All right, Mike, which one do you want?
Let's just rip the Band-Aid off a story right away.
All right, direction, story, go.
You know, I like the arc that we got for Shaq missing free throws and finally making one. I feel like that was a good story piece. I don't know that we need to see it like 5, 6, however many damn times they have him miss shooting paper
You wonder if
into
they
baskets.
only put it in there because it's Shaq. Like, if it was anybody else in the role, there's no way you would have seen that many times.
Nope.
I can't say whether or not that's canon to the comics. I don't know if the John Henry Irons in the comics can't make free throws or not.
I did not. I did not see that mentioned anywhere in the websites that I looked at.
Yeah, it just felt so fucking generic. Like, just every bit of this entire thing, from all of it, the villains, their motivations, their, like, the motivation for our hero, nothing seemed right. He gets a fucking standing ovation at a VA for picking up a girl in a wheelchair with the wheelchair and walking out. He gets a
Basically
standing ovation
stealing
for
her.
this.
He kidnapped her.
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, take her away.
See,
Break our
that's not an
windows
issue
and
with the
carry
story.
her
That's an
out.
issue with directing. The director said you're all mental patients
Well, this
at
is
an
about
insane
direction,
asylum.
We accidentally put in the fill-in shot of the VA.
Because I've seen that
Meant
happen
to
in
be
plenty
Arkham.
of films. Someone breaks out of
But,
the
I mean-
mental hospital and everyone celebrates.
But, I mean, we're talking about direction and story, right? Or are we characters and story?
I don't remember.
Direction story, yeah.
Yeah, okay, I thought so. You know, Ian said it in the summary there. They're shooting a tank. First of all, they're shooting an expensive tank with live ammunition to test instead of just a hunk of steel to test stuff out on. And second, there's people inside it. What? Then their excuse is, oh, well, it's turned down. It's not at full. Don't.
His ass got hot.
Yeah.
You know, I made a note of that. The first lines of the movie are, that's enough, my ass is on fire. To which they reply, I thought I smelled some nuts roasting.
That was
Yeah.
that was a great
That's how you
joke.
open the movie.
That was a great joke. That joke was better than any of those shitty 90s turtle jokes.
The
Disagree.
box checked.
But
So the idea that you can make a weapon that goes to a higher capacity, but it hasn't been tested yet, but you can't engineer a weapon whose particular maximum capacity is just lower.
Yes.
Like, just make if 5 has been cleared and 10 has not, just make the weapon's maximum capacity 5 for the test. The 10 doesn't even have to be an option.
Or
then
even,
they would have to remake the weapon.
I mean, you could even, I don't know, screw on some type of like bolt thing so that the thing
Yeah.
can't be pushed above a certain level.
Yeah.
But I mean, Shaq's
That's
busy
all you have
inventing
left.
new alloys. Leave him alone. He invented a whole new alloy for this gun.
Even Sarah called that out.
And there's issues there too when he comes back, or like he comes and he says like, "Oh, my tour ended," as though he was like at war or something. He was a weapons tester. That's not a tour. You're not in live combat. That's a tour.
Well,
You're,
that was
like,
live combat, though. Those are live people getting shot at by live rounds.
They're just, it's all friendly fire, not like actual
No,
enemy
it's
fire.
a friendly. I was on a friendly fire tour.
Yeah, it's called Nom. We've all been there.
It's just that was just so awful. The whole like how many times did they have to touch tips of their fingers and do that in this movie?
Okay, I loved it though because I was like, this movie's for kids, so they can't have sex, so they're just touching tips. I love that. I was like,
I mean, if that's the case, they've had sex a
I was
lot
like,
in this
fuck
movie.
that finger, bro. Get it.
To be fair, like it was cute when they did it once.
When she was paralyzed, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but every other time it happens, it's like, okay, that's enough.
Was that in the comics, Josh? Is that like their go-to? The turtles say
The
cowabunga and
they're
slap
stealing
hands?
sparks.
There's nothing that I could see that even mentioned that character was from the comics. I'm pretty sure, and I was gonna bring this up under characters, but I'm pretty sure that character was just completely bastardized for this movie, and they basically gave us Oracle.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's
Yeah.
what I was telling Jess. It's Oracle
It's
from
Barbara
Batman.
Gordon.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
Killing Joke. Like after the Killing Joke,
Mhm.
that's exactly what it is.
You just made me want to see Judd Nelson as the Joker.
But well, no,
Like,
I
now
want to see.
but
I
old
want to
Judd
see
Nelson,
Bender
like-
as the Joker.
Wow. There's just so much wrong. It's hard to know what to do with the complaints. But there's an arcade that's a weapons front. This guy runs a kid's arcade, and they're testing weapons upstairs.
Again,
Downstairs.
And
it's
did
the
you
That's
notice-
close to
No,
Turtles,
no,
right?
whoa. That is downstairs. One, sir. Downstairs.
No, it was
No,
upstairs.
because she hits LL to go to the bottom floor. The top floor is where his office is. The weapons are downstairs. That's why they insert the car and hit LL lower level. Upstairs, when he kills her,
But see,
that's just them hanging out in the Fun Midway office. That's just Chicago in the 90s, brother.
okay, that's
But
fine.
yeah, this is, I mean, Midway
Did-
was a
did
front
you
for
notice
weapon
that-
selling. No one talks about it.
Did you
You're
notice the
making that
first bank that
No.
they rob and the arcade are the same building with the same sign with just different, like, it probably like plastered on lettering?
That's how they make a movie for $16 million.
I did not.
Yeah, like it was the exact same building. The lettering, the font was the same. It was in the same place. All of it was exactly the same.
I would say that like, oh no, that's weird. I'll go back and see that. I'm not gonna watch it again. So, but I take your word for it.
It just, there's so much wrong. I guess
I want to
direction
make sure we get other
wise,
people in. You got anything else real quick?
is there a place we talk about music?
Yeah.
Sound?
I mean, everything else, we can throw that in there.
Okay, for everything. Then I'm good. Go for it.
Andy, what do you got for direction story?
So I was really impressed that what threw him into the fit of rage to go racing after these people whose guns he invented and tested was a cop that got blown over by the sonic wave gun or whatever the hell that was. He pulled her
Yeah.
out of the car, went running like no one does this to my best friend, and then we literally never see her again.
Yeah.
And isn't-
She's mentioned once or twice after that, but yeah,
we
you
don't
never see her.
get an update. We don't get any more FaceTime with her. I thought she was going to be this
She
big
died off
character. Yeah, we get
She
nothing.
did?
Absolutely nothing. Like I would have thought that she would have been in the other wheelchair at the Black and Blue restaurant at the end. I mean, anything, but literally we
she-
get nothing.
Can she put together an IBM computer? I don't think so.
That 500
word.
megahertz. Oh my goodness.
I must
And-
have had a fever dream at some point, like, but when I was watching this, because I don't know what I did. I was watching, and then all of a sudden he's in the cop car with her and the kids in the back, and they're being driven. I did not see him meet her. I looked
'Cause they
away.
didn't.
I did something, and all of a
No,
sudden, like
there-
this
there- no,
character
there
is
was
just
not a-
there.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
totally
that's how-
missed
that's-
it.
That's what
That-
happened.
Yeah, there was
That
no
was-
setup to that.
That,
You didn't miss anything.
yeah, that was the introduction right there.
That was it. Like, was there even any like, oh, we met each other, now we're getting in the cop car, like anything?
No, we didn't even know why they were in there until Shaq told us why they were in there while they were already in there.
The only way you're ever going to get the answer to that question is if you buy the special edition DVD and watch the deleted scenes.
the
With
laser
even more
disc.
Shaq's position.
yeah.
The extended edition.
Which is somehow actually
Snyder cut.
shorter.
Somehow it's shorter.
I also love how they have like infinite resources in the military to make all these weapons, and then he just goes to see his Uncle Joe, and Joe can get him what he needs because everything falls off the back of a truck.
Did Uncle Joe just steal all that shit?
That's
So,
what
so
I'm
he just goes to
thinking.
his Jawas. No, he's got Jawas.
He's got Jawa.
He buys it from people that steal it. Let's be clear.
Yeah, that's what I
So he's not
assumed.
actually doing the act of stealing. He's just getting
No,
it from
he's-
shady
he's
people.
got
He's
the
not
actual
asking
one.
where it
Yeah.
comes from.
Yeah.
He's saying, we need this. Go get me. And he's like, okay, yeah, I'll buy it.
So he's contributing to the criminal underworld that Steele is trying to stop.
Yes.
They commit like just as bad crimes in their world. Like they forge signatures, break him out of jail, and all this shit. Like they're doing a lot of bad shit themselves.
They knew that there was crime that was going to happen at the one place because, and they knew that, like, Steele was going to, like, fall down off that building into the trash where in the alleyway where his motorcycle was going to be just waiting for him.
Oh yeah.
Like, when that happened, I'm like, did he just steal a motorcycle? It seems really off for this character to be stealing a motorcycle. And then you see, no, like, this is built for him. And you're like, how the fuck did it get there?
You know what else pissed me off? He wields a hammer and never fucking uses it as a hammer. Not
I
once.
was waiting for that the whole
Not
time.
fucking once does he use it as a hammer. Why even have a
Like, I
hammer?
don't
Just
remember-
have a fucking gun with you.
Because his
I
name
don't
is
remember
John
if-
Henry.
I get that, but then use it
Irons.
as a hammer. Like when the car's coming at him, he could have just, like slammed it into the fucking hood of the car and been like, "The fuck out of here."
Josh, I don't know if this was in your comic book stuff or not, or if anybody knows the comic book character well enough, but does he use the hammer to shoot projectiles out of it, or does he actually? I was under the impression he does swing the hammer in the comics.
I mean, the character, it seems like, with all intents and purposes, was conceived. The name was deliberate. So the point of it being John Henry with this steel hammer and whatnot, like, that's part of it. And yes, as far as it being weaponized for like projectiles and whatnot, I didn't go that deep. But it seems to be implemented more as a tool more than it was.
Okay.
I mean, it was kind of used in certain like strategic, tactical ways. Like with the magnetizing things at certain times and whatnot. But yes, I agree. Its main core function, based on its fabrication, as Andy points out, you would think it would get used more.
Swiss Army hammer. Nice.
Yeah, I wanted to. Yeah. I wanted him to use it like a sledgehammer and just start beating people. with it.
Yeah,
Like, that's what I was
Just-
expecting.
I wanted just one
That'd be
good belly
dark.
hit, just like, whoop, and somebody just be like, "Arr, arr," you know.
And,
But he doesn't
and
want to
didn't
kill
the hammer's
people.
handle look stupidly large?
He won't kill anybody. He'll just
Yeah.
break a bunch of their fucking ribs.
He's
That-
7
that-
feet
that is a-
tall, 340 pounds.
That is a Mortal Kombat fatality. That is, your torso is now 10 feet behind you, and your
I'm
legs
not- I'm
are
not
just
saying-
left there at the waist.
I'm
That's
not
a weapon
saying
in
get like a
Postal.
spinning like Olympic
Like a hammer
start.
throw?
Yeah.
like the discus thrower.
Yeah.
To be clear, there's a reason that in the MCU they really only show Thor hitting like Ultron bots and creatures made of rock with the hammer.
And trolls.
They don't really show him like full on blasting somebody in the face because it would just break them entirely.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So
Same principle.
yeah, that's what I mean. Like it's the same idea, but
But he still goes
still
up against
there's other things hammers can do.
Yeah, he goes up against a car, a Humvee,
Yeah,
what
there's
else?
definitely opportunity for it.
a manhole cover. There's other things he can
Up
do
against a
do
manhole
with it.
cover.
I'm
Steel's
sorry.
kryptonite,
I'm sorry.
a manhole cover.
He wasn't up against the manhole cover. The manhole cover was up against him.
To be fair, the manhole cover is like level 1 boss. It's like the first one, on the lower pecking order before you hit like Humvee in level 4.
And with his electromagnet, how come that didn't come flying at him?
Yeah.
Yeah. Every time he turns that on, half the shit in the room should be flying at him. But no, it's just the hammer.
It's just the stuff he needs to fly at it.
Right. Yeah. Andy, you got anything else for direction story?
I'm sure I'll think of other things, but those were the big ones.
Okay. Josh, what do you got?
I think this particular writer-director must have been very proud of himself, or like if someone gave him a studio note for that opening training scene, because Annabeth Gish's character, pretty much every single word was written in like military code name speak. Everything was given some kind of nickname or whatever. Like, you're among the same people. Like, you're not in a tactical operation. You can just say what is happening.
You mean the Robin Hood stuff?
Yeah,
It was all Robin
just,
Hood.
like really all over the place. So Judd Nelson's character is not even arrested for killing a sitting U.S. senator. Like, we could have at least gotten some kind of like breakout from custody or jail.
He was arrested. That was
Kind
a
of
court-martial trial.
Yeah, that's a court-martial
But
trial.
did-
He should be put
you
on
get
death
arrested,
row.
though. He got arrested
But-
for
but
it, though.
Didn't like the general guy that Steele, is walking out talking to say like, oh, they're sending him to Leavenworth. Didn't he say that as they're walking
No,
away?
he
Like,
said
oh,
he
yeah, they're
should
gonna...
be going to Leavenworth.
Yeah.
Should be. Okay, I
Like-
missed the should be part. I thought he's like, oh, they're sending him to Leavenworth. At that point in the story, I'm like, well, all right, they sent him to prison. He's going to go to prison and formulate a plan.
Red Skull it, yeah.
So okay, I guess technically put under arrest to be put on trial for that action. Yes, perhaps. That's also not a military trial. Is not an actual criminal trial. So that's still murder. So, I mean, like I said, you could have done that, and it actually would have made more sense, because now he has more motive to, like, after, like, he's broken out of custody or prison for being, sentenced for murder. But whatever.
Well, he also kills 3 people in an elevator. Nobody blinks an eye.
Well, right, but as far
No
as far
one
as, like,
gives a
motive-
shit.
As far as a reason for his
Okay.
character, like, to then go do what he does, as opposed to like, oh, you got court-martialed. All right, well, I guess I'm gonna take down the world and make it a bloodbath. Like, what? Okay.
Okay. Also,
Yeah.
Brian, that was an accident. No one was murdered.
That whole scene didn't even need to happen. There was no point to it. It's not like
No.
she was on his ass or anything like that. She was just like, this is dangerous.
But that sets up his later turn on Big Willie.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, he
Integral
just
to
kills
the
everybody.
plot.
I'm convinced Ian's going to give this a 7 or higher.
The scene you mentioned earlier about like him picking Sparky up in the wheelchair and whatnot, as he's like trying to break her mentally out of the mold, and he like bursts open that window. I was convinced he was gonna like tell her like, now go fly, or
I
like
will throw you out this
throw
window.
her out like legitimately. I didn't know what the hell was what was getting set up, because if the whole thing is, I have opened this window that is already clear, they're like, you're not seeing the sun any better. You're like maybe getting a breath of fresh air, kinda. Is that like the whole thing that's turning her
No,
around?
the window was dirty. He set that whole thing up. Did you not watch the movie?
Apparently not.
You know, if more people watched this movie, there'd be a touch grass meme about that moment. It'd just be like him pointing, just touch grass.
Yeah.
Just go.
I'm really proud that the director wrote a bunch of urban youth dialogue for Martin and others to say. Like, that was just so thick. We got a Shaft joke, if everyone got that.
Oh,
Yeah, Ray J got it.
I think I missed that.
I don't remember anybody's character names. The owner of the junkyard.
Uncle,
Yeah,
That's the
Uncle-
actor
Uncle
who played
Joe!
the original Shaft.
Uncle Joe.
Yeah,
I knew
Uncle
that,
Joe,
yes.
Yeah.
Yes, and while they're talking about like making the initial hammer thing, like he makes a Shaft comment.
Yeah.
Like
Oh,
really lays it on
okay.
thick.
I do remember that, and it went right over my
Which
head.
is
They
also
even
weird.
do a facial reaction. What the fuck?
Yeah, because it's like it's also kind of like a double entendre from what I remember, because he basically says like something about like he prefers the Shaft or something like that.
I thought it was just a
He said he
a
liked
dirty
Shaft
perverted
work.
reference or something. I didn't get the whole I used to play Shaft reference
Yes.
to it. I went the other way with it. Yeah, okay.
Yes.
I got you.
I mean, Shaft itself as a name was meant to be that, so you're not terribly far off.
Yeah, that's true.
I still didn't connect the dots until just now, so I failed everything.
Lastly, I have grappling hooks. They tried. Why do they have to whisper when his grandmother's cooking?
I don't know.
Souffles.
I-
Loud noises make the souffle deflate. That's a very well-known thing in
Culinary.
Yeah. Not maybe in the culinary world, that happens all the time in cartoons and movies, that if you make loud noises around souffles, they deflate. That's a
But it's in the
classic
oven.
Looney Tunes gag.
It's still in the oven.
We don't have time in this movie to do all of that.
I've
We got
never
a big
heard that
bang! Big
Represented
bang!
before.
Josh,
ever.
we had 5 seconds to show a new wheelchair being built, okay? We got a lot going on in a short amount of time.
Gotta get to the shooty bits.
I got 2 more. That grenade there at the end is the longest
Yes.
exploding grenade in cinema history.
I thought that too. Yeah.
He also throws that onto just the other side of some rickety ass
Wood wall, yeah. Which
It's
doesn't-
still 3 feet away. You're just getting a lot of splinters and shrapnel now.
He's
Yeah,
wearing
Like, you're-
armor.
that's not
He
saving
covered
you.
up the child, Ray J. This is all covered in the movie. It
speaking of
explodes through. And
splinters,
he's
speaking of splinters, I said Judd Nelson goes down sort of like Shredder, with like that big like thing, wooden pier shelf thing, kind of on top of him
Oh, yeah.
collapsing. And I wish they hadn't actually made reference to this and just said Arnold, because I actually did kind of like the Arnold Schwarzenegger voice translator at the end. That's it.
All right, Ian. Timer's gonna go off, but I want to get you in. What do you got for story direction?
So wow, no plot holes. Everything that's set up in this movie storyline wise is covered. We get the black and blue restaurant. We get the wheelchair coverage. We get Ray J going from I might be a punk to hey, I'm reformed and want to be Robin now. Shaq goes from I hate weapons to I gotta do weapons to I hate weapons again. Everything's covered. Pure fantastic story. They nail it. Yeah, it's a little generic and basic, but it's a 90s Shaq movie. I'm not asking for cinema classics here. I'm asking for you to tell the story they set out to tell, and they told it. Yeah, he doesn't use the hammer like a fucking hammer. It shoots. Let's fucking use it as a gun. No shit. So my only real issue is that they got all these advanced weapons and shit, but none of them kill anyone. Like, they shoot that guy with the one eye like 4 times and he lives. Like, they shot him up like he was 50 Cent and he's still walking around, you know? Like, no problems. So that
And these are also the lasers that also cut through bank vaults.
different laser, though, you can tell, because that's a straight laser. And these are circular lasers they shoot out of the guns.
This is
Oh,
almost like a
okay.
pew-pew.
Pew, 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 pew. So, I mean, really, and then the directing was fantastic. He really found a way to bring in the connection of music and art together in a very special blend that's reminiscent, honestly, of James Gunn. I really enjoyed how well he masterfully blended the sights and the ears. It was fantastically well done.
I feel like Ian has mistaken his HBO Max programming and accidentally watched the last episode of Peacemaker and thought it was Steel. And
I changed my initial guess. I think Ian's gonna give this an 8 or higher.
Just
based
keeps
on
going.
that.
Oh, the only issue might be that the Lieutenant Burke is only dismissed for killing a senator, and it's not like it's not a dishonorable discharge. He's just dismissed, which
Yeah.
isn't a real way to exit the military. But whatever, you know, they used up all their jargon in the beginning. I get it. So yeah, fantastic movie that really brought to life Shaq as a big, powerful man who can't hit free throws.
I don't have too much to add. I think I mentioned earlier, the direction just felt like a made-for-TV movie to me. Nothing felt like this should have been released theatrically at all. And I don't know. It makes me wonder why this guy, you know, whether this was like, hey, this is going to be your big break, so let's make this movie, or if he actually cared about the character and decided to write and direct this movie. I don't know where the connection there is.
I think some of the issue might be too. I don't know if you guys saw it, but one of the executive producers was actually Shaquille O'Neal.
yeah,
Oh, I did see that. Yes.
So
I'd
I think
say
I
that.
think
like-
maybe he had like some
Well,
So maybe
he
it's the other
wanted
way
to make
because
this movie
Shaq's
and
like,
he
yeah, Shaq's famously a Superman fan, right? That's why he has
Yes.
the Man of Steel
Yep.
tattoo, which they show in the movie.
yes.
Yeah.
So he couldn't probably be Superman, so they gave him this character, and he's like, I'm going to make this movie.
Well, also think of it. So remember from the background, the character was only introduced like 3 years before they actually made the movie. It was
Yeah.
invented in
Oh, right, okay.
1993. So,
Okay.
I didn't mention this because this is more like cinema development, but a couple things that I saw mentioned that but in between trying to do Superman Lives, that never happened with Nick Cage.
Yeah.
For a while they were trying after the release of the Superman Death of Superman comic, they were trying to adapt that languished in development hell for a couple years, didn't happen, and they moved on. The idea initially was, okay, we have this Steel character, maybe not with Shaq in mind yet, but they could introduce him in a small role of some kind, as mentioned in the comics storyline, in a Death of Superman movie, and then spin this off to basically follow follow that. And I gotta say, actually, the story, from what I can tell that we saw in the movie, does kind of follow the initial arc in a way of the Steel story. Like some of those main pieces are there
Street Gains getting weapons and stuff
off the streets and doing all that stuff. Yeah, so they kind of borrowed a lot from that. They kind of invented other characters like fake Oracle and Judd Nelson's character to just play their roles and whatnot. But I feel like if it would have been like some part of something bigger, maybe like the wheels were already in motion, and they just kept decided to ride it out instead of canceling it.
We could have lived in a universe with like Val Kilmer's Batman, Shaquille O'Neal's Steel, and Nick Cage's Superman in a crossover event together.
The things like this is the multiverse that the DC needs to give us next. We're getting Michael Keaton back and things. This is what I want.
Yeah, I don't really have too much else to add, so we'll move on to characters and actors. Andy, I'll let you take this one to start.
Okay, characters and actors. Let's go with the Grandma first. Feel like
Okay,
she's the only
go for
one
it.
that actually had an entire arc. Like she set down a goal at the beginning, she got the goal done at the end, she had a restaurant, she made her fucking souffle. Yeah, I feel like she's the only one that like actually competently completed what she meant to do during the movie.
You're not wrong.
Yeah.
Good call out.
The general was a fucking dumbass. Same with Steel. As soon as you know that those weapons are on the street, who the fuck do you think put them on the street? Like, come on.
Yeah. There's one guy you've met that's been disgruntled and had a hand in making these weapons more powerful. Come on.
Right. And
Which, okay, so give my like Prison Break idea another whirl. That solves that problem. Now it's just a matter of like getting to him and finding the channels and whatnot.
Right.
That would have worked.
Shaq was unwatchable in this.
There's a reason he has not continued as a movie star.
Right. It just the line deliveries, just his movements, his mannerisms, just everything just wasn't great in my opinion. I thought his wheelchair buddy, I don't know what you would call her, Sparky,
Sparky,
did a decent job with what she had, but their characters' arcs, like at the end, you would expect instead of like this great big giant hug, like he would, I don't know, announce his love for her, or just give her a kiss, or I don't know, something more meaningful than let's hug it out.
It did seem like the movie was going that direction.
Yeah, it did. Like both his grandma and his Uncle Joe were like, "Oh yeah, she's like the cream of your crop over there. Like, yeah, you should do this."
You can't do better.
Yeah.
Yeah, basically.
Judd Nelson was okay, but he was like, I think Mike said that he was very generic. He had no motivations that I could really know other than just, his lust for power.
You can only do as much as they give you to work with. Like he can't write lines for his character to make sense.
Right.
I mean, that's also at the very base. That's just Palpatine's. He just lusts for power. It's a very good thing to go to.
One of the guy I thought did the best and seemed the most natural at what he was doing was Richard Roundtree. I thought seemed the most.
Yeah, I'd agree.
The most.
Yeah.
I don't know, not dialing it in. I guess he felt like he was Uncle Joe to me. I thought he did a pretty good job with that, but
You got anything else, or I'll turn it off, or send it off to
I
somebody
think
else.
the only other thing I want to say is the kid that he catches in the train yard, Cutter, I think his name was.
Yeah, Cutter.
They tell it. He looks out the window to see Steel running away, and that's literally the only thing we ever see from him again. Even though they said to eliminate him or whatever.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, killed off screen, presumably.
killed off screen.
Yeah.
Presumably, we have no idea if they actually followed that
Well,
or not.
No, we
I
do,
guess-
because he tells
because,
Slats
yeah, when they
you'll
sit
end
on
up
the
like
bench.
Cutter.
Yeah. Like when he's eating the hot dog.
Yeah, they mention it, but you're right. There's
See, I told you, all
That's
of
the only
these are
setup.
wrapped up. There's no plot holes.
And then he gets so mad that he fed him a pork hot dog. He was so fucking mad about that pork hot dog.
Well, yeah,
Like
Muslim.
he's busting out the gats on him. He's like, "You motherfucker, gat."
It goes against his religion. That was really probably the most evil thing Burke did in the movie.
total dick move.
But that's it.
I
I'm
know-
passing the baton.
I'm not meaning to take the baton. I just wanted to say another thing about Cutter. In that scene, how many times did we need to see trains hook up?
Oh yeah. Well, it was dramatic, right? You almost get squished by hooks every time.
I
Well,
honestly only.
I
thought
feel
it
like
was
you weren't
one
almost
too
getting
many.
squished by hooks.
Well, see, we
One,
had to set
one
it
too
up
many
like
over the.
how powerful it is because the last one that almost gets Shaq was going right for his junk. And then he would have ended up also not only would have gotten his junk, probably gone through his spine, and he would have been paralyzed just like Sparky.
So did anybody else expect
Yeah.
him to do like a Johnny Cage split jump and like land back on?
No, I did not
No,
expect Shaq to
no,
do that.
I can't say that I ever pictured Shaq trying to do that. No.
I was surprised he was jumping fences.
To be fair, they don't actually show him jump the fence. They just show him fall off of it.
Which is still impressive for a man that tall.
Is it? He's just stepping down.
I mean, he's 4 or 5 years in the NBA at this point. His knees are probably already fucked.
Could be,
Josh, what do
yeah.
you got for characters and actors?
I am glad that people like Annabeth Gish, like long before she got okay, they were working actors, they got a part. Judd Nelson, good on him, he got a role. That's nice. To give you context, I just happened to see here that Shaq was nominated for the Razzie for the worst actor this year. He did not win.
1997.
In 1997.
Yeah, so at the 98 Razzie Awards, that team, whoever the voting body on that is, felt that Kevin Costner in The Postman was worse than Shaq in Steel.
Not even fucking close. Has anybody
Yeah,
ever
I
seen
can't imagine
The
that being
Postman?
true.
Good God.
I've not seen it, but there's no way that's true.
Right.
Well, I think the expectations played a role there.
Oh, sure. Your expectations for Kevin Costner are to be good, and your expectations are for Shaq are to be Shaq.
Really curious what the other nominees were for that year.
For just the actor,
Yeah.
John Voight in Anaconda,
Yeah.
Oh,
Steven
that was-
Seagal in Fire Down Below,
Yeah, it
which
doesn't
Steven
matter what
Seagal in
movie.
anything is a
Sounds like a-
candidate.
Yeah, see,
porn
it's
movie.
going anything. Yeah.
and Val Kilmer in The Saint.
Oh,
Yep.
that was a good movie too. I didn't.
I
think
like The Saint.
Yeah,
I'm with Andy on that. Yeah, Saint doesn't deserve to be there.
Well,
it
the
may not
Razzies
have
aren't-
been his best acted movie ever, but I mean, it was a good movie.
Yeah.
I mean, they gave the award to Kevin Costner over Shaq. Maybe
Is it
they
just
felt like
because
it
they
was
wanted to
punching
give-
down.
Maybe they just really wanted to give Kevin Costner an award for once, and that was the only way to do it.
Oh, apparently they ripped The
Maybe.
Postman to shreds that year. It got like worst screenplay, worst director, Kevin Costner. Yeah, they did
was-
not like that.
That was right after. I want to say that was right after the
Probably like the one right after Waterworld.
Waterworld. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah,
everyone
You
hated
can't follow
Waterworld
that up.
so much that I like both those movies. If you guys, all right, we have homework after watching Steel. Go watch The Postman. It's a decent movie.
And Tom Petty's in it.
He is indeed.
Okay, my notes for actors' characters. Really, with like the HR inspector hot girls in the steel mill, I don't know what they were doing there. Why?
They were there because we needed to think Shaq was hot.
I
They were
suppose.
attracted to him, like, oh, look at Shaq, he's hot stuff.
Yeah,
And it's like, oh yeah, that's how you walk around a steel mill.
yeah, but I mean, they had the hats on, but they're
Yeah,
in like
that's all you
tank
need for
tops.
protection when you're walking by a smelter.
Yeah. So Judd Nelson has a moment where he says accidents happen when his test gun in the arcade lab like burns that dude's eye and whatnot. He said
Yeah.
accidents happen. I completely went to John Bender. Screws fall out all the time. The world is an imperfect place. I got real Breakfast
Maybe that
Club
was his
vibes off that.
inspiration.
It's like the delivery is like the same. Just something about the tone of voice. I just want to call this out. So the guy who ends up getting killed by the grenade in the end on the other side of that wall, he's an actor named Kevin. I don't know how to pronounce Grevue, perhaps. Plays the character of Singer, Judd Nelson's like right hand man. He becomes that
he's
dude.
Underworld.
Yes, he is
Yeah.
like the main / co-creator of Underworld.
Yep.
And he appears in the first movie and has a bigger role in the Rise of Lycans prequel.
Yeah.
John Hawkes was in this for like 13 seconds, which was amazing. He's like the mugger,
Oh yeah, I
That
missed him.
he-
Yeah, yeah.
and he
that's
looks
right.
so young. And I was like, I saw him in the credits somewhere. I was like, oh my god, John Hawkes, that's amazing. I will say, as a character name, John Henry Irons. That's a pretty good comic book name. I like it.
I dig it. I like it.
I like the rookie cop, who in like his first scene or two just thinks that everything is so cool and fascinating and badass.
He just wants to be Batman.
Yeah, I love that
That's
guy.
what it is.
I
Yeah,
did
he was
way more of
actually-
him.
He was pretty good.
I told the Junkyard Batcave, which again, I'm sad that they just didn't leave some of the inferences there that like someone later directly says, like something like, where did he go? He disappeared. And someone like offhandedly says, I don't know, maybe he disappeared to the Batcave.
Yeah, that was the rookie cop you just praised. You dingus.
Well, that is not his fault because that was the writer giving him that line. The character itself was awesome. But yeah, I wrote down Junkyard Batcave before he said that. And I like the double secret entrance that's like automated and shit. And later there was a dog. I liked that. As far as the actors themselves, I will admit, I don't know what it was. That I was not actually hating like my watching experience for about the first half hour or so. It wasn't great, but I didn't hate it until he became Steel.
Yep.
So the whole point of the movie.
Kind of. Like, I expected him to become Steel. I didn't know the backstory, so I didn't know what was happening. I thought he was going to, like, become Steel within the first 15 minutes. And then it really took you, like, halfway through the movie to get there. That whole back half, once he is in the suit and doing shit, was much less enjoyable for me than the whole first half that was just more, like, character-driven.
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah,
Speaking
But
of
the
the
actors and
suit,
whatnot themselves, yeah, like you guys said, they tried to do their best as far as they could.
The suit to me is a hilarious point because he gets shot at by multiple people with automatic weapons. Nobody hits him anywhere
In the
that he
exposed
actually
face.
isn't covered.
Yeah.
It's like his neck and part of his face is not covered. All these bullets just magically miss that spot. Because that makes sense when you're putting together a suit of iron or suit of armor.
Steel.
Special
is to leave
alloys.
really vulnerable spots completely uncovered.
yeah.
The lower jaw isn't important.
Your neck is.
There was some chainmail there, probably.
A gorget.
Mike, what do you got for characters and actors?
That hasn't been said already. Not a whole lot. Judd Nelson, I was waiting for him to be fucking harsh, and he never was. So it didn't
Hey,
Didn't
he
come through.
Gave that guy a pork fucking hot dog. How much more harsh
That's
do
true.
you want?
I mean, had he done it like that, that would be like in today's movie, if they remade this very movie, like, it would be like, oh, instead of it being like pork to turkey, it would be like vegan or something would be the problem.
Yeah, it's supposed to be like
it's like-
tofurkey or tofu.
Yeah, this
Yeah,
is an
like,
impossible
oh.
dog, and it's actually a hot dog.
Yeah, like, you lied to me.
Mike, I don't know if you're not understanding. That guy really did not want a pork hot dog.
Again, it was a religion thing. I get
Extra
it.
calories. Wait, it was a religion
Yeah,
thing?
he's
Where
Muslim.
did you draw this from? What proof of that is
They're
there?
clearly an allegory to the Black Panthers, who had a very big Muslim sect in them. We all know this. That's clearly what they were going for. I don't know how no one else caught this.
No one
Not
else on
everybody reads
Earth,
so
not
deeply
even the
into these
people
movies
who wrote
that
it,
you do.
caught it. I don't know, like characters that were good. I guess we haven't talked about Willie, Big Willie.
Was he good?
He had a cool scar.
He was awful.
Whoa! Did you see the way he ate
Wait.
that toothpick?
Gauntlet thrown.
That's true. He did have a toothpick.
Which one was he? I couldn't.
The money man.
arcade owner.
Okay, all right.
He was great.
Yeah, I mean, it was mostly just bad. Like I'm trying to think of something good to say, and it's already been said about Uncle Joe and Grandma. She was great.
She was.
But the rest of it is just. Oh, there is one that I did like. The other cop, not the rookie cop. The other cop.
Oh yeah,
Like
yeah,
the
the one who
veteran
doesn't
cop.
give him up in the lineup.
Yeah,
Yes, senior cop.
that
yeah,
was,
that was cool.
actually one of the only good scenes in the movie.
Yeah.
And you can actually expand on that. The couple that he returns the goods from that
Yeah.
John Hawkes like steals was actually
Mhm.
pretty. That couple was actually pretty decent.
But also, if you have the gun, do you really need to ID him?
All right, Mike, you got anything else for characters and actors, or I'll go to Ian? Nothing?
No,
Ian, go ahead. What do you
My
got?
only problem with Shaq is with the very beginning when he's lifting up the falling house on Sparks, he cannot do an intense face. He just couldn't force that. Like, they needed to have him actually lifting because it didn't seem like a real struggle for him. He just like felt like he was trying to clench his face because that's what you do when you struggle.
See,
He just
they did try to have him actually lift something, but they couldn't find something heavy enough because he just is that strong.
true.
He was just,
They couldn't have brought the
it was
tank
just real.
over. I get it.
he did it with the tank, and they were like, "Damn it, we don't know what to do."
But
now."
other than that, like other than some minor facial things like that, Shaq killed it throughout this movie. He was fantastic. Probably one of the best basketball actors of our time, if not ever. Like better than Michael Jordan, better than Detlef Shrimp. Like this guy can act. He's got some chops. Like I really
was he better than LeBron in the new Space Jam?
didn't see it, won't watch it. Judd Nelson.
Same,
Judd
but-
Nelson was amazing. He oozed evil sleaze 80s excess, and I loved it. Yes, it takes place in the 90s, but who cares? He's living the dream with that character. The senior young cop combo was great. Like they could have a spin-off movie and I'd watch it. Like they just knew how to banter back and forth. Uncle Joe was just everyone's uncle, and you could tell. And that's what he says. Everyone calls me Uncle Joe. And I'm like, I get why. Obviously, this isn't Ray J's biggest performance, but he did blow his load at the end.
I was waiting for it. I figured he'd work it in there somewhere.
I was confused about the guy you guys pointed out was in Underworld, because I'm like, there's no way that's his real voice, right?
That's his real voice.
I was
Yeah.
convinced they were doing something to it, so hats off to him for surviving this long.
Yeah, and I could be wrong. I feel like once you get to Underworld, it's actually like deeper and more gravelly.
Yeah, it is.
It might be a put on for the werewolf thing in Underworld.
Very well could be, but
He
even
could be doing it on
as many
purpose,
times as
which
I've
is unnecessary. But
oh yeah, like as many times as I've seen that movie, I sometimes have a hard time understanding what he's saying.
Yes.
It's that to that degree. To your basketball actor comment, the same Razzie year that we were discussing earlier, Dennis Rodman did win a couple of awards for that Double Team movie with Jean-Claude Van Damme.
I remember that movie. It was fucking terrible.
So they determined that he was worse than Shaq, because he won the award and Shaq was sadly only a nominee.
Accurate.
Ian, you got anything else for characters, actors?
So,
or
like I
is that
said,
it?
all these characters went through different development and progressed through the story, either accepting their new disability or learning to hate the weapons they created, or just chasing that power like Palpatine himself, or opening up a mixture of French soul cuisine. Everyone's story mattered, and it paid off in the end, even Ray J's.
I don't know how to follow that one. So I don't know. Shaq, he's not great, but the dude tries. I give him an A for effort. He tried. So maybe it's just something with the character. Like I feel like he looks the part. Like just tall, big guy. I could see that just playing for the character. But everything after that, I don't buy him as a person that can engineer the kind of tech that he needs to make for this suit or the weapons or any of that stuff. I can't buy it. It took me like 2 days later after watching the movie to figure out where I've seen the girl that plays Sparky,
Yeah.
and she showed up in X-Files before, near the later seasons.
She's been in a lot.
Yeah. She's been in
She
a
looked
ton.
familiar, but X-Files was the one that clicked for me, like, oh, that's what she's from. That's what I remember her from. She was good. I think she did fine with what she was given. Judd Nelson was also fine. He didn't have a lot to work with either. Richard Roundtree, I think, was the one that stood out for me. He was the one I liked the most. He was just fun to see on screen. He seemed like he was actually having fun in the movie. The grandmother was good too. Not that we saw a lot of her, I don't feel like, but she was good. Ray J was fine. Everybody else was fine. Nobody else really stuck out to me. Yeah, that's about all I got for characters. I can't think of it. Nothing else is really. It's very mediocre to bad, I think, for most of these people.
And something I don't ever really remember is, honest to God, how young Shaq was at this point. He was only born in like 1972, so he's like 22. Like I think he went from high school right to pro. So like he was
No, he
already
played
in
at
the
LSU.
NBA.
He did not.
Well, okay, but he was already a big thing in the NBA for a number of years at a very, very, very young age.
His first year in the NBA was 1993.
Okay, so he's 20,
4 years,
22
he's-
to 20 to 21 when he actually joins, like depending on his birthday. So, I don't know. I think I'm with Brian a little bit. Like I'm trying to give him the benefit of the doubt. He's like 23, 24 years old making this thing.
And not an actor.
No.
So he's trying, but I don't know if it's just he's not. Not that I've seen a lot of stuff with Shaq in it. I haven't seen Kazam.
Was
Or
this
Sh-
before
is
or after Kazam?
Shazam. What the
Kazam.
hell's the other one? Kazam. Yeah.
Was it before
It
or
was
after?
before. It was the year before.
So Kazam was after this. They let him do this
No,
and
no,
they
no.
made another movie.
No, Kazam was the year before this.
Oh,
That was
okay.
first. So
I've not
yes.
seen that, so I can't.
Well, I don't
comment.
know which is better. One of those got made, and then someone wanted him to do something else.
Kazam, I remember being slightly popular when it came out. Like I remember as a kid, like people like, oh, Kazam, it's a thing because it was marketed as like a kids movie, right? And so like it
I think.
gets that pickup, whereas Steel wasn't marketed as anything. I don't remember seeing anything about this.
Actually, be
like,
curious. Like, I didn't do it before this, but I kind of want to just go back and see if there's a trailer for this movie. Like, how did they market the movie? What did the trailer look like and feel like? Did it look like a family movie, or did it look like this is your, teenage superhero movie that everybody's into? Like would they have marketed this like a Batman or Superman movie, or would they have given it just some sort of family friendly vibe to it? I don't know,
Yeah.
but I'm kind of curious. All right, so we'll spoon off to the everything else category. Everything else we haven't talked about. Anything else we want to talk about? This is where we hit it. Josh, do you want to start this one, or
Yeah,
do you want to?
I got a couple.
okay.
It's a short list. I said I didn't think it was too bad of an attempt for explosions at that initial bank robbery that happened. It was like okay, it was some effort. Did you guys notice in the arcade scenes at that building a lot, there was always a shot of at least 2 Batman Forever cabinets?
Yes, I saw the Batman Forever. cabinets.
No.
Like there was typically like one in between, because if they were right next to each other, you wouldn't be able to see the details on both simultaneously. So it was like here and then like kind of edged around the corner, like 2 or 3 cabinets down. So also keep this. I looked at this was released like 6 or 7 weeks after Batman and Robin. So DC was trying to really push things that summer.
What year? What
Another
year
note about
was Batman
Forever
Forever?
was
that
95.
95.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I was thinking it was 96 for
Yeah.
some reason.
Those arcade machines, Batman Forever, little known fact, or well, widely known among gamers, one of the worst games ever made.
I didn't know it ever existed until like I also didn't know if it was like a fake thing just made for this movie. I've never seen it.
It existed and it was an
I
abomination.
mean, those were all real cabinets they had.
Okay,
feel like-
which
I
I
feel
could
like-
believe.
I feel like we tried to play that at Replay Effects, and it was just as awful as we had heard.
Was it ever? I mean, so it was like
It's-
in the arcade cabinet, or like Mike, you played it like on
Yeah.
a home system later or something.
It was both.
Okay.
And it was marketed like, oh man, it's a new Batman game and all that. And then you go in and it's fucking Mortal Kombat, but not fighting game. Like it controls like Mortal Kombat, where you like it's so stupid.
It is
It
very
is-
dumb.
Oh, take your words for that. Oh, I thought the gospel song number during the Iron Man montage, in which he's like creating the initial suit. I liked the music, but I thought it was a very odd pairing. It did not go with.
I think the
scene.
music in general for this movie is very odd. Like, it works for, like, if you just listen to the music and think 90s, it hits a lot of boxes.
Yeah, like the
If
basic.
you overlay the music over what's happening in the movie, you're like, why the fuck would you pick this?
That's fair. I
Can
thought,
we
I thought
have
the-
a talk with John Williams about intellectual property rights?
I thought the basic score did what it needed to do for a movie like this at the time, but yeah, like the gospel song was like, oh, it was enjoyable, but right, I was like, this is a weird choice.
I definitely made a note, too, for when he's chasing Cutter to the train station, that music just felt like it didn't fit what the hell was going on. And I don't know what
It
the hell
was very
song it was.
upbeat.
Oh, I loved it.
It was so fucking weird for the chase sequence of the
But
movie.
then it would turn suspenseful though when someone almost got hit by a train. Then it'd go back. It was fun, like that fun dynamic of doing the twist.
I just imagine you watching this movie like, whoa, 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 just constantly twisting in your seat.
Oh yeah, brother.
Ian had so much more fun
Yeah.
watching this than I think than the rest of us did.
Yeah, those are my only notes.
Okay. Mike, what do you have for everything else? I think you wanted to talk about music before, didn't you?
I just wanted to really question whether or not they went to John Williams to discuss the main theme for this movie and whether or not he was okay with it, because a solid portion of that score is just straight stolen from Superman.
I did get that hint. I was reminded of Superman theme listening to that whenever it popped up.
Yeah, I get that it's intentional and it steals, tangentially related to Superman and everything
Steals.
like that, but I would really rather have his own theme song.
Yeah.
It's basketball.
Uncle Joe's-
my favorite sport. Yeah, like something like that.
Shaq
Uncle
does his
Joe's
own theme song.
Junkyard.
He has an album.
I kind of want to go and find Uncle Joe's junkyard and buy a bunch of the shit he had out in the junkyard. Like the little,
The junkyard or the path
Car-
to the junkyard of all the cool shit
all the cool shit.
outside of the
shit where he
junkyard
had like
proper.
little characters made of junk.
Yeah.
I was like, that's fucking cool. I want some of that stuff. Like that's awesome stuff. And they never mentioned like, oh, Uncle Joe does art with his junk. That would have been like a cool little like, I don't know, something just to be like, oh, hey, or I don't know. But it was cool. That was one of the things in the background that doesn't get talked about that I'm like, that's kind of neat.
Movie gained a half a point for you from that.
No. No, it did not. If they had that as like merchandise I could buy, like I keep seeing like one that was like brake rotors and stuff like that with bolts and all that and had a face and was all happy. If I could go and buy that, it would get that half a point. I can't. I just see it in the movie and I can't have it for myself.
Yeah,
0
it's
points.
been
for that.
20 years.
They never had it for sale. Never. There's no way they sold that. We know this.
They were too busy
they
selling
did-
shafts.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Why didn't Ray J ever get to hold the shaft?
I'd also like to
He's
point
so
out
proud
like,
of himself after that one.
as the movie is titled and as we discussed earlier, he creates a new alloy. And yet the movie's called Steel, which is a known alloy that we're dealing with. It just seems kind of like, all right, well, is it even steel?
And his name's Irons.
Yeah, which is also not
he
steel.
doesn't irons
Yeah,
his
it's all very
shirts.
confusing.
They're all just related to metal. That's good enough.
Yeah, it was just like metal puns the movie in some sense, right?
That's why Andy loved it.
There's just so much that's how, like, I think you mentioned it in your 60-second intro there when he first arrives back in LA they spend so much time with him just walking down, like giving a pound to some random kids. And it's like, how many different kids do we have to see him interact with on the streets of LA? I don't need to, like, and they came back to it. Like, they cut away, had other stuff happen, and they come back, and he's still doing this walk through LA.
And it's weird because it's only
like,
children.
Yeah, it's just kids roaming the streets. It's like, why do I need to see this? Like, you established this already. We already did this once. Why are we doing it again?
We had the footage.
That just bothered me.
People really
also, I want to
eat
eat
Shaq.
Grandma's souffle. It looked good. At the end, that last one she made, it looked good. I would have ate the others too because it's a grandma. You got to eat her food, but that last one, that I want a piece. But that's all I've got.
Okay. Ian, what do you got for everything else?
So one big issue is so many of these explosions were just fire with noise effects added on. That really hurt
The little
me.
like pop flares and
There were
stuff.
some
Sparks
Losing
going
points
off.
on the explosion
Yeah,
score.
it wasn't a great explosion movie. Like even the best explosions were really just fire done well and not it's so weak on that. I also did not appreciate when Shaq, I don't remember when he does it, but I think it's near the end, he pulls off the hammer from his back and it's very clearly a sword unsheathing sound being played when he does it, and I was very upset by that. I was like, I know that sound. That's an unsheathing sound from the Turtles movies. Like, fuck you.
I noticed that too, and that was just like, why did it make that sound?
He doesn't even unsheath it like from his back or something. He like just tucks it out. Like, then what? Shouldn't even be a noise, probably.
It was like magnetized to his back, wasn't it?
I don't even know if the magnet was on. No one, because they didn't cut to a computer to show us whether or not it was on. Which is the only way you can tell when it's on.
That's true, because we all don't know how magnets work. They had to show us electromagnet active so that we understood why everything that was
you need
metal
the exposition through
flew
the
to him.
computer
Yeah.
for everyone watching the movie.
Otherwise,
yeah.
it's magic, just like ICP taught us. I felt real bad for Shaq and his knees because he's doing a lot of moving around in this, and you just knew they were ready to explode. He didn't have a long time.
Maybe there were better explosions in
I-
Shaq's
I-
knees than in the movie.
I did look this up. The long jump record shown on screen, not only accurate, still the current long jump world record. So,
Good to know.
Yeah,
Shaq can do a longer long jump while wearing all that armor.
someone looked that up and actually included it in the film.
Or they got lucky.
8.95 meters is a great guess if that was a guess.
And this is before Google.
I didn't understand why Shaq was. Now, I guess it's kind of story, but I forgot about it. But he goes from being a world class weapons engineer, and he's like steel mill. Like, there's a lot of engineering jobs you could apply yourself to after leaving the military that don't involve weapons. Even Tony Stark moves away from weapons. He just scraps it, even though it's the most profitable division he has. Realistic, no, but possible. There was one real confusing scene. Shaq is on a phone call, I suppose, with like the general or something, and he like smashes this thing, but I couldn't tell how he was talking to him. Like,
It's a phone booth, Ian. It's a phone booth.
Jackass.
Also, speaking of the phone, did you catch the old couple being like, "Oh, 911 has a busy signal"?
Oh
The
yeah.
fuck was
yeah.
that? Or it's a recording.
recording.
It was a
It's a
recording.
recording. Yeah.
911's a recording. Like, what?
That's the movie telling you the only hope for this town is steel.
retires a week later.
Yeah. He gets one mission and that's it. He's done.
Though I guess I was also confused by the timing of the movie, because it seems like Shaq has been sending this lady, Sparky, so many letters, but I thought it had been like a week since he last saw
Same.
her.
Same.
Yeah, the time jump, I didn't understand. I thought maybe I
He was
missed like a
sending
2
3 a
years
day.
later title card or something.
Nah, he was sending 3 letters a day.
He might have. But yeah, I mean, other than that, the music worked. I really liked the train scene. Those smacking together, you really felt the impact of those steel blows coming in. A lot of things make sense. Like, why is Shaq in that steel armor able to survive all these attacks? Well, we all know jet fuel cannot melt steel. So that's why he was able to survive all of these attacks. We've all read the literature. It doesn't get hot enough. So we all know why Shaq was able to
Clearly.
survive all of this. But again, big ups to Ray J for pulling it out and like still having a career after this. I didn't realize I said pulling it out till afterwards.
Sure you didn't. Sure you didn't.
Big ups.
Andy, try to follow up that one. You got anything?
Yeah, fill that one up like Ray J did. Oh.
Or
You should
didn't.
end it on the last one. The last one was better.
I feel like this movie might have been a slightly better if they had tried to tie it to the rest of like comic bookdom, other than like the couple of tongue-in-cheek like jokes that they pulled off.
They mentioned Batman and Robin, don't they?
Well, they mentioned the one kid saying he wants to be Robin, and then they mentioned the Batcave, and then somebody mentions like, "Oh, you're not Superman" or anything kind of like that. But that, I mean,
That could just be people reading comic books and knowing of the characters.
Right.
In
Like,
the
if they would've
fantasy world.
somehow tied it, I think, to like well-known comic book medium characters. You know, it's almost like DC didn't want this movie to do well because they were like, yeah, don't use any of our actual stuff.
I mean, their Batman movies were already on the decline.
Yeah.
I like Superman never happened. All through the 90s, they
I
never
just
got a
think,
movie
like,
out.
The actual like story and motivations of the character are so much more interesting than what happened here. So
What, in the movie, you mean?
yeah, like it's so much more interesting in the comic books. Like
Oh, right.
John
right.
Henry Irons' story is so much better in the comic books than what they did here. So yeah, it would be much better if he was just talking about like, oh, Superman died. You don't even have to have a Superman in this universe or know who Superman is. Just talk about like Superman died, and this is why I'm doing what I'm doing.
Right. Just
Boom.
a 3-minute, I don't know, inner monologue that you hear. I don't know.
Because we do know
Anything.
Superman
It could be
exists
done with,
in
like,
this
the-
universe, not either fictionally or real because of the tattoo.
Yeah.
True. But just think like that opening segment where the smelter's going and the iron's just in the, we got the GIF going. Just take that opening segment and put some like text dialogue over it explaining what happened to Superman and what's happening.
No,
And
you got to be
who-
way more cliche about it. Newspaper headline flies by.
there you go.
Daily Planet.
I don't know. I did not verify this, but in trivia that I saw somewhere, it mentions an interview with a specific place that the director did at some point later after this. So maybe it is possible to verify whether this is true or not. If not, my headcanon likes this anyway. So it said that the director said that he originally wanted Wesley Snipes to play Steel, and Warner Brothers felt that casting Shaq would help sell more toys and merchandise, which is completely in line with Warner Brothers' philosophy with their movies, because that's exactly what they did for those last two Batman movies.
Yeah.
Which also then makes me laugh because this was released in 97, and if that's true, wasn't Blade 98?
I thought 99.
So like, okay, so even so like
No, I
98,
thought it was
99,
actually
so if
97.
that was like, let's get Wesley Snipes for this part. No, we'll do way better with a movie with Shaq. And then Snipes got Blade.
It was 98. So it was probably being
Blade was
filmed.
98. You were right, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, being filmed while this was released.
Yeah. So good on if that is true, good for Snipes.
Yeah.
Well, it's one of those things where one of them made a good movie with a good script, and
The other one was
one-handed-
Andy,
I
you
mean,
got
I
anything
just
else
teed that
for-
up. I'll take it.
I fucking hated the rifles that shot the big laser blobs or whatever the fuck they were.
Like the flare guns.
Yeah, they looked horrible. The sound effects were awful. They didn't actually do any actual damage that I could tell, other than take down the fucking helicopter, which doesn't make any sense because they don't actually do any other damage any other time. I thought that was a really horrendous special effect.
I actually kind of liked like the kinetic weapons, like the ones that would fire the like sonic blast or
The
whatever
sonic
and blow
blast
stuff
was
apart.
cool, and
I thought that looked cool.
the straight laser was very cool, especially when it like sort of cut the water tanker to take down the one police guy.
See, I felt like that was really cool, but I feel like all the scenes where they're cutting through the bank vaults, it looks like they're not even moving the damn laser. It's like, this laser's doing this giant cut through the wall, and every shot that they show of the laser, it's stationary.
It cost too much money to move it. They only had $16 million.
They cut to a different shot, so that's how you knew it moved.
And I absolutely hated the scene where she unleashes her full
Weaponized wheelchair.
weaponized wheelchair.
I forgot about that.
Where she
Yeah.
does the whole spinning around, shooting fucking rockets and all kinds of other fucking honky shit. Like, it was awful.
Like, I thought they made it a point earlier in the movie that they don't kill
awful.
people. Then she just goes all tornado
Yeah.
fucking bullet
She
storm
was
on her.
missing everything anyways.
And then she's like, "You think this is fast enough?" And then she uses her fucking nitro boosters. And you see the bumper sticker: "We break for animals." I said
Blast
animals.
out of there.
what you
Animals
missed
eat
was
them.
the
But
what
it
you
just-
missed was the "we always handle family issues" thing on it.
Just like-
She
Oh my god, that scene, that end battle, I guess you could call it, was just so
Impressive.
horribly done. No.
Epic,
No.
awe-inspiring.
Yes. The antonyms to those, yes.
I don't think I have too much else. I thought the music, we talked about that. I thought the music was a weird choice for most of the movie. Like, it just, whatever was going on, the music did not fit whatever was on the screen at a time. Some of the effects were fine. Like, I thought the kinetic sonic blast things were cool. That's about it. I don't know how I feel about Shaq's costume. Like, the steel costume looked, the helmet, there's something about the helmet I thought looked weird. Everything else looked fine, I think, to me, but the
It didn't look
the
like
helmet on him, I don't know if just the design of it looked like a cowl. Like,
didn't
it
look
kept
like-
reminding me of like Batman's cowl
yeah,
somehow.
It didn't look like metal.
Yeah, and maybe that's where I was getting hung. Like, I guess I'm just used to maybe thinking of like an Iron Man mask, and they just didn't look that shape or look, I don't know, too weird. Took me out of it. I don't know.
That reminds me. Wouldn't he have made like a whole fuck ton more noise just running?
You'd think, yeah.
just
I don't know. Special
moving.
alloy doesn't make the noise that normal steel does.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Sure. I don't know. But yeah, I think that's all I got.
Superhero named Alloy then.
All right, so I guess we'll wrap up with the question of does this movie hold up, or do you think it ever held up? We'll start with Andy. What do you think?
No. I don't think it ever held up. And I think I was able to detect this when it came out and saw parts of it on, I'm assuming, HBO. And yeah, I'm going to turn this immediately off. So
Mike, what do you think? Hold up? Do you think it ever held up? In 1997, would this have held up?
No, not in the slightest. Like, I just was looking up very quickly. 1997 movies that do hold up. The Fifth Element and Men in Black are two really good examples of movies from that year that hold up and remove the excuses of, it's, the 90s and they didn't have the technology. Yes, they did.
I'm
The
curious what
technology was
budget
there.
for
The
those,
budget.
though.
Well, no, but the budget and the commitment to the content wasn't there in the first place,
Yeah.
which means it doesn't hold up. Does it hold up today? No, it didn't hold up originally. It can't hold up now. It's horrible.
Josh, what do you think?
So I'm also going to remark that apparently Spawn was released 2 weeks before this.
Oh, that's right. We did talk about Spawn. That was 97 as well.
Yeah. I would say no and no, but I have seen things fail at that harder.
That's fair. Yes. I would agree to that. Ian, what do you think?
Oh, hell yeah. This is one of the better movies we've watched. This easily snaps the pieces, the TMNT quadrilogy I've been forced to sit through. This is a pretty great action flick with Shaquille O'Neal doing his damnedest to, really get in there and really do a role, that Wesley Snipes probably couldn't do, and why he had to move on to something like Blade. And, that's also showing, Shaq did the superhero thing first, Like Ray J, he hit it first.
That's right, Kanye.
Still going. Yeah, my quick answer is no. I don't think it ever held up. I don't think it holds up now. It's not good. It's very not good. All right, so I'm revisiting the Rotten Tomatoes ratings. Critic rating again is 12%. Audience rating is 19%. And then we're gonna wrap up with our rating out of 10. So let me know if you think you would agree with some of the Rotten Tomatoes ratings and what your rating out of 10 is. Start with you, Josh.
Yeah, I guess I understand the ratings. I don't know if I would go that harshly. We always forget to do this and kind of like try to re-reference our previous stuff ahead of time. I think the lowest thing generally that all of us have rated was Captain America from 1990.
Not me.
Generally.
All but two of us.
Okay, but it had very, very low scores. Like somebody gave it like a half a point.
That was me.
Someone gave it a quarter point.
Yeah. So I think it is a cut above that. I think it's kind of like, this is for me in like Swamp Thing 2 territory. Somewhere around that, and I don't remember what that was, so I'll just say like 3.
Worse than Swamp Thing 2.
Okay. Mike,
Swamp
what do you
Thing
give
2
it out of
did
10?
have Heather Locklear, so just so the critic ratings, they're too high. But then again, this is Rotten Tomatoes. That's just a percentage of the critic ratings that are positive.
Yes.
It's not necessarily saying that could be like only, what was it on Rotten Tomatoes? 12% of critics.
For critics, yes.
I mean, you can
Yeah,
still
so
call that
only
too
12%
high.
of critics gave it any points at all. But for me, yeah, we're going bottom of the barrel here. This is a goose egg. I cannot
You're giving
find
this a 0?
Yes. I cannot find anything redeemable or worth. There is no desire in me to ever see a moment of this movie again for any possible discernible reason.
Out of all the stuff we
is-
watched, it still kind of boggles my mind that this is the one that got a 0 from you.
Can I
Why?
ask a question, Ian? If you happen to have it in front of you, what is Mike's otherwise lowest scored movie?
Kitchen.
Captain America.
At what value?
Oh, I thought I gave the Kitchen lower than
No,
that.
you gave Captain America a quarter point.
Quarter point.
Okay, so I'm only to potentially, because we got a lot more movies to get through eventually, just to give yourself room for maybe something that you end up thinking is worse. You can't go lower than 0.
A 0 just means there's no redeemable qualities to it for me.
Which is fair.
Like, I literally don't think as a movie there's any redeemable quality to this at all.
Touche.
So if I give something else a 0, that just means I also think it is that horrible.
Fair. Okay.
Captain America, that 0.25, that quarter of a point, I think it earned that with its. It didn't. There was. I can't say a positive thing about that movie either, but I could see myself.
You gave it that
maybe
because of the
giving
intro
another
music
laugh.
that inspired the later Captain America theme music.
Is that what I did?
Yes.
You have a memory like a steel trap, sir. Thank you.
Or he's making it up. We have no idea. That's just what he does.
I know that sounds correct, but yeah, this is. Again, this intro music sounds like the Superman music, and this is why it gets a 0. I'll go to this route. The Superman music this sounds like was already in existence. This did not inspire something it stole from.
And Shaq never got sick once in this movie.
What?
Like Captain America.
Oh, yeah. You're asking me to remember things about Captain America.
Watch that movie 6 times.
Yeah, you did. You did.
All right, Andy, out of 10. And what do you think of the Rotten Tomatoes rating?
I think they're probably a little harsher than I would give it credit for. It was actually somewhat of an enjoyable watch, only in the fact that we were laughing at all the stuff that was happening that shouldn't have been, like, wasn't intended to be laughed at.
Yeah.
So I'm actually right in line with Josh to give it a 3 because we did enjoy poking fun at everything. So I feel like it was bad enough to sort of come back around and be watchable, just to make fun of it.
All right, Ian.
So
What do you got?
this movie was like, everyone's like, oh, this is going to be horrible. Brian stopped doing his podcast for like 5 months because of the show.
That's true.
I was going in very low expectations when I watched it, and I came out being like, I was engaged throughout. I was like, this is way better than any movie before Green Brothers that puts me to sleep 5 minutes in. This was a fantastic watch. This gets a 7.2 because, as I always say, the critics don't know what they're talking about.
Can always count on you to look at the bright side on some of these movies. Yeah, I don't know. I do think the critic thing, the Rotten Tomatoes ratings did. I think I agree with Josh and Andy. I think they did come in a little bit low. I was trying to figure out where I'm going to fall because, like, I mean, my bar for the worst movie I think we've watched is Captain America, and this is not Captain America. This does have a few things redeeming, I think. It's still not something I think I'll go out of my way to ever watch again, and I think I could probably get some enjoyment out of it, like Andy said, to at least laugh at some stuff that happened and stuff that goes on. I'm going to give it a 2.5 out of 10.
Just as good as
Not great.
TMNT3.
Yeah, you know what? That sounds about right. Yeah, that's on par for me. All right, so that concludes our discussion for Steel. So now we get to go to the Wheel of Fate.
The Wheel of Fate.
To pick our next movie. So again, as I mentioned earlier, the Wheel features 3 franchises and 3 standalone movies. So the idea has always been to try to keep a variety of stuff going on the Wheel. So we're still, I don't know how many episodes close to 20 or something.
This
maybe
is 20
or 20. Okay. So we're still, feel like trying to get a feel for how this Wheel works and what we end up watching. So at some point we might change the weighted stuff or what we pick for the Wheel. But right now we got 3 franchises and 3 standalones. So our 3 franchises that are currently still on the Wheel are Ghost Rider. We still have 2 more Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles to get through, and Ghost in the Shell. The 3 franchises that are on the Wheel right now are Speed Racer is a holdout, Supergirl is a holdout, and replacing Steel is 1985's Red Sonja.
Yeah.
So, all right, at this point, I have to share
Kind of hoping for
the
Turtles
wheel.
just so we can get it off the wheel. It's held up the wheel for quite some time. It's held a spot for so long.
I can't
All right,
remember. Has
there's-
Turtles been there since the very beginning?
Yep.
Yup.
My God, your wheel's small.
Well, you can't make it bigger. You're stuck with it now. That's what it is.
I can't even read that shit.
That's what he said.
Well, when the movie picks, you should see the title.
Ray
It'll be
J's was
fine.
much bigger.
Yeah.
All right. Any guesses for what we land on
Red
here?
Sonja, because it's red.
Supergirl.
I'm actually good with
I think you
everything
guys-
we have right now.
What's the white one
I still think
that you can't even read?
white.
Speed
What?
Racer.
Oh, it's gray. Yeah, gray is Speed Racer. Yes. All right. Spinning the wheel.
I mean, if we get Ghost Rider, that's one
Then we
more,
get a
but
new
that's
franchise.
like a whole franchise spot gone.
Yeah, it knocks that Ghost. Okay, yeah, Spirit of Vengeance is the next one up, so that would knock out Ghost Rider. I really want another Turtles movie, obviously, or Speed Racer. I think Speed Racer would be cool.
Uh-oh.
Oh,
Red
yeah.
Sonja.
Wow.
Red Sonja, it is.
all right.
This might be our quickest turnaround. It got right on the wheel and got right off the wheel.
I think we've had that maybe
I thought we had that
once,
problem
one other
for a
time.
while, where it was happening every so often, where like it seemed like a few times that happened.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I could be misremembering.
Well, we know what's next. That's what we have to look forward to. 1985's Red Sonja.
I'm pumped. I love that movie.
Starring Brigitte Nielsen and Arnold Schwarzenegger.
So have you guys seen this movie before?
Oh, yes.
I don't think I have. I don't think I knew Schwarzenegger was in it.
Yeah, I have not seen
I
it.
knew
I listened to
Nielsen was the star.
A
though.
whole podcast about it, so I know all about this movie.
I think they actually just resurrected Red Sonja's comic book back up too.
It's been running for years now, so I get it every month
Okay.
for like 5-6 years now.
Maybe I just recently found out that it's still going. How's that?
That sounds like the accurate thing.
All right, so that concludes our latest Rewind Theater. So if you've enjoyed the show, please support us, leave a 5-star rating and review. Be sure to give us a share on social media. You can follow us, hopefully, wherever you find podcasts. We're on Spotify, iTunes, Google, Anchor, Stitcher. Check us out there. Check us out on Facebook. Search Bry Guy and Super Friends, or go to facebook.com/Bry Guy Super Friends. Leave us a question, comment, topic suggestion, any of that stuff there. Try to email us, bryguysuperfriends@gmail.com. I've checked it recently within the last month or two. Still nothing, so it's fine. Don't send it. I won't check it again for a while, so don't send us anything there. Hit us up on Twitter @BGSuperFriends. That will check. I can see those. Feel free to follow me on Twitch @JediBryGuy. We did our 250th episode on Twitch. The VOD is still there if you would like to check it out. It is on my page. Technical difficulties and all, 4.5 hours worth. It's a doozy. If we ever decide to do live show again, we'll do it there. If I ever want to stream gameplay and stuff, I will do it there. So if you want to check us out doing some other stuff, that's cool. And that's it for us. On behalf of Andy, Ian, Josh, Mike, and myself, thank you for listening. We'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye.